Right-wing infighting has been in the news lately, probably because the honeymoon phase of the election is well past over. You're seeing the seams of the coalition start to break down, the far right arguing with the middle right. Notably, at a TPSA event, you had Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson take shots at each other during their respective speeches. We're seeing the notable rise in popularity of Candace Owens, Sam Hyde, and Nick Fuentes, these far right people that have disdain for the more general MAGA movement. The far right people that are turning on Trump and want him to be even more right-wing than he is. The breakdown on the right has been interesting to watch, but today I want to talk about Think Before You Sleep, who's definitely a right-wing guy, definitely not a far-right psychotic extremist or anything. He really doesn't like immigration and hates wokeism, which I hate wokeism too. I'm a liberal, but I think it's super cringe. He's a bigwig in the commentary space. He's pretty political as it is. Videos of criticizing Hassanabi, which I also don't like either. Think Before You Sleep, whose real name is Sean, and I'm going to call him Sean from here on out, first came on my radar with his Ilimations drama. Long story short, this animator named Ilimations made a body positivity video about how it's okay to be overweight. Sean then did a teardown of that video saying, we should all do our best to have the best body that we can. Sean's video was a bit mean-spirited, but it was fine. The real drama came in when Ilimations tried to have the video taken down. Illy told her Tumblr audience to report the video for bullying and harassment, which she hadn't even watched the video at that point. And aside from that, the video definitely wasn't bullying or harassment. And Illy telling a group of people to falsely mass report a video is against YouTube TOS anyways. Despite Sean being in the right on that one, you had a number of left-wing creators come out against him, chief among them being Noah Samson. For those who don't know, Noah Samson is a left-wing guy that just hangs off the nuts of Hassanabi and other people like that. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed, and he'll frequently do these crazy mental gymnastics to prove why this person on their side is actually not doing a bad thing, even though it's very clear that they are doing a bad thing. Despite both me and Noah Samson being on the left, he's a socialist, I'm a liberal, I wouldn't endorse him in any way. Back on the topic of right-wingism, I wanted to do a review of this video right here because I watched it. It's pretty not good. Very poorly researched. Sean has said that he prides himself on how much research he does, always having a treasure trove of evidence to support all his opinions. But this video right here is just broadly speaking wrong on very basic facts. For starters, he talks a lot about how immigrants are a strain on the US economy when every single respected economist agrees that immigrants are a positive economic benefit to the US. You can talk about cultural arguments, that's a separate issue, but in terms of economics, they are a net positive, and nobody disputes that, except for Sean with no evidence. Second, he makes a lot of cultural arguments about how immigrants don't comport to our culture, but then very deliberately conflates Islamic immigration and Hispanic immigration, which Hispanic immigrants are going to be Catholic, they're going to be Christian, just like the US is predominantly. He also just gets stuck on a lot of weird points where he's like, oh, they're trying to emotionally manipulate you, when it's pretty clear that's not what's going on. In any case, let's just get started.
This is a woman named Sakia Navas who lives in Texas, and her husband, who was in the United States illegally for 22 years, was detained by ICE.
My husband is in Lubbock right now because of the big hailstorms. He has a roofing business, and so he's there to do roofing jobs. And he was pulled over immediately by the sheriff for supposedly a traffic stop.
He was turned over to ICE for not having a license. Eventually, he was transferred to a detention center in Eden near San Angelo.
These days, the topic of media literacy has become quite popular.
I love how he's talking about media literacy and then gives the AI overview of what the word is instead of just using dictionary.com or any other respected source. I don't know why you'd go with the AI answer. I mean, it's not necessarily bad, and I'm sure this definition is acceptable, but it's a bad look to be outsourcing your thinking to the AI when you're like, oh my god, look how media literate I am.
Now, personally, I've only seen people use the term media literacy or accusing people of lacking in it when they're trying to deceive you, though that might just be a happy coincidence. But anyway, some of you more media literate individuals can probably guess why the picture they have chosen is a picture of the guy with a newborn, and why they make sure to sit all of the kids on the couch with the mom. Make sure you don't mention why he was pulled over, because we all know that illegals never drive recklessly under the influence and end the lives of a couple of Americans. But those of us media professionals like to call this emotional manipulation.
They're talking about the guy who got deported. I don't think it's unreasonable to show the family they got left behind. Whether or not you think it's justified or he should be gone, it's a net benefit. It's not a malicious thing to show the family that was left behind. That's normal journalism. I don't know why he has such a problem with this.
And it's used to get you to ignore the fact that this guy was pulled over, found to be driving without a license, and was detained with another person who was likely also an illegal.
If somebody's watching today and says, well, he was in the country for 22 years. Why did he wait so long to get a citizenship? What would you say?
I pushed for it years ago when she was born, almost 7 years ago. And he's like, but I don't want it to look like that's why I'm married to you. And, maybe even a part of his pride, too, was what stood in the way. But never because he didn't want it to look like, he's using his country for that.
This chick is such a liar. It was his pride that stopped him from filing paperwork. He didn't want to.
How do you call yourself a media professional and then just confidently assert that someone's lying? People do dumb things for their pride all the time. Whether it's not getting citizenship via your wife because you don't want it to seem like you're taking advantage of her. You have old people that won't go to the hospital even though they desperately need it just because they're being prideful. Hell, you have people every day dying and putting themselves in harm's way because they couldn't set aside their pride.
It seemed like he was using me. Okay, but he had 22 years to apply for legal residency without...
Again, it was pretty dumb. If he's married to this woman, he should have gotten his citizenship, but you can't confidently assert what did or didn't happen. You don't know that.
Why the hell didn't he do that? Well, the answer is probably because he was previously deported.
Oh, probably because... Okay, great. More assumptions. Let's go.
Can't get legal status. Or he doesn't want legal residency because he doesn't want to pay taxes on the roofing jobs that he does.
I don't understand why people get this idea that, like, non-citizens don't have to pay taxes. If one thing is true is that the IRS will get their cut. Whether someone's a citizen or non-citizen, they will get their cut. If people are making money in the United States and a household is making money and they're buying things, the IRS will get their cut. Whether someone is or isn't a citizen, they have to pay taxes. They have to pay into Social Security. And fun fact, they don't even get any Social Security benefits. They don't see a single dime of money that gets put into those programs because they're not eligible for any of the benefits.
He didn't hold back because of his pride. That's stupid, and it's not moral either, because the moral thing to do would be to come into the country legally, not invade the country from El Salvador because you're selfish. Is that they are trying to abuse people's empathy to justify open borders, which allows for drug trafficking of super dangerous materials like...
The funny thing is, I'm pretty sure most drug mules that get caught are U.S. citizens smuggling drugs across the border. Oh, would you look at that? Most U.S. citizens are the primary smugglers of drugs into this country. And that was one Google search away. So much for the Chud Master that researches his opinions.
Fentanyl, sex trafficking, it allows for crime from people who shouldn't even be here, and it removes the workers' rights standards that Americans have been fighting for decades.
Bear in mind that it's always people on the right, not this guy specifically, but it's always Republicans that don't want to increase the minimum wage, that want to decrease workers' protections, and otherwise just screw over workers.
If they want to keep their family together, then they can all move back to El Salvador. I don't care how sad their story is. The real sad story is the millions of young Americans not being able to afford houses or families or work reasonable hours because corrupt businesses and politicians keep essentially importing people who are willing to work for slave wages to compete with American citizens.
Just take note how quickly Sean goes from these immigrants are super soldiers that compete with American workers, they just work, to these immigrants just live off of welfare and do nothing good for our country.
Fleeing her home country of Honduras.
Can you imagine a result where you had to return to Honduras and leave your kids behind?
No me lo puedo imaginar.
I can't imagine it.
She doesn't have to leave her kids behind. She can take them with her. In fact, she can self-deport, and I'm sure the government would be happy to aid her in the move.
As a mom, I'm a mom. How do you survive every day with this doubt?
Yo por mis hijos hago todo.
For your kids, you do everything.
Again, using children as human shields so they can emotionally bully you to the extent that you won't notice that they can't even do the interview in English because she doesn't speak it. They had to use an interpreter when she's been living in the U.S. for 12 years.
You can say that you want deportations, that you want these people out of the country, you want stricter enforcement of whatever, but it's very inhuman to have this sort of reaction, to just have no regard for their well-being. At the end of the day, they're still humans too. You could want them out of the country, you can want them to get deported, but this reaction is pretty concerning. Should people living in the U.S. learn English? Yes, I think it makes things easier. It's a good thing to do, integrate, whatever. But when it comes to New World countries, United States, Mexico, these countries don't have an official language. I think that's broadly speaking a good thing. I don't think being a stickler with this kind of thing really makes sense. I think just give it time, people learn English, especially when you look at generation below. These kids speak perfect English. They learn in schools and their English is amazing.
America, they're here to take from the system, and Americans aren't obligated to give endless welfare to the third world. I don't see why you would care about that.
Here we have it, the welfare thing. These immigrants just mooch off of it. Doesn't make sense. Illegal immigrants are not eligible for any welfare benefits provided by the federal government. And we go back to Schrodinger's immigrant. They either take American jobs by working 80 hours a week, or they just mooch off of welfare and do nothing. It can't be both.
Because they don't care about you. They don't care about the damage they cause to this country. They don't care about respecting the culture. I mean, they won't even learn English. Also, when they start making videos of eating rice with their hands and saying they aren't trying to assimilate, but instead trying to colonize America, then it's time to stop caring about what they think.
I mean, this is very obviously clearly a joke. People call it integration. I call it reverse colonization. It's a joke, bro. I don't know why you're taking it so seriously.
Trying to colonize America, then it's time to stop caring about what they think.
Side note, people that make fun of white people for the mere fact that they're white, these are cringe, these are retarded people. These people should be shamed. It's stupid. If somebody is or isn't white, like, who cares? The opinions matter. Why are you bringing up that someone's white? I don't agree with this. Honest to God, if somebody goes like, you as a white person, like, just disregard their opinion. It doesn't matter. Unless you're talking about something very specific to like one group of people that isn't this other group of people. If your opener is, you as a white person or you as a whatever, shut up. Just your opinion doesn't matter.
If this woman can be blatantly racist and say that she doesn't care, then I think we should all stop caring what people think when we do the non-racist thing of judging people by their actions instead of by their skin color like she did. Because, I mean, what do you think is going on here? When someone crosses the border illegally or lies about needing asylum and works under the table, gets free schooling for the kids, gets free medical benefits,
you should want the kids to have schooling. Kids going to school, learn English, learn American values, integrate into society. They have American classmates. You should want people in your schooling system. If they're going to be here, especially if they're born here, they're going to grow up here, you want them in your schooling system. This is a dumb argument. What's the alternative? Just no school for these kids? They just like sit at home and do absolutely nothing? I think it's pretty cruel. I think every kid, regardless of where they come from or where they're staying, deserves an education.
Many other handouts from the American system. That is not a poor, helpless person. That is a thief. That is a foreign invader. These people know what they're doing, and they don't care about being openly racist either. So why would you care about someone calling you racist for pointing out criminal behavior?
I mean, Sean does have a little bit of a point. On the left, there is a tendency to call people who aren't racist for just having normal-ass opinions that aren't informed by race or anything. If people are calling people racist for something that has nothing to do with race, we should be calling this out. This is a little problem that we do have that we need to address on the left. But I do think he focuses on this a bit more than it makes sense to.
My favorite thing about Donald Trump is that one day he will die.
Okay, that's funny. Come on now, come on. Okay, listen. Political violence is bad. I don't support any sort of political violence, full stop. That's a funny joke. Come on now. From natural causes, of course. Natural causes.
That they would have you stay quiet when there are many people of a particular radical group openly saying that they want to violently conquer us.
Allah is not shy of the truth. We don't.
Here we go. So at the start of the video, it was just Hispanics, whatever the hell. And now we're just going to glide right on over to like Islamic extremists, which by the way, Islamic extremists don't make up a majority or a plurality of the Muslim immigrants that are coming to this country. They just don't.
Islam is here to live, to coexist with lots of different religions, and all of us can just hold hands and be friends. This religion was sent to dominate the world. It was sent to be superior, to extinguish the light of every other religion and to be superior to it.
I mean, that's a crazy thing to say. I don't agree with that.
If that requires fighting to achieve it, then it requires fighting to achieve it. Because the greatest purpose for which jihad was legislated is to make the word of Allah the highest and the word of those who disbelieve the lowest.
He means they're going to use violence to get people to convert to Islam. Remember these stupid-ass stickers? I'm sure
these stickers are pretty funny. In a lot of fundamentalist Middle Eastern countries, gays are executed on sight.
Muslims look at these and laugh. And let me be clear, I'm all for people of any race who want to come to America, be American, and be a benefit to American society, but there is no coexistence with people who want to physically harm you for believing something different. Radical Islam is an
people who want to use violence against you are bad. No shit.
Potential threat. And after seeing what's happened to Europe, I think we all need to start making the radicals feel a lot less welcome in America.
Your entire argument is the basis of IQ. You haven't said, you just say, marrying your cousin, effing your cousin, that is degenerate. On the basis of what? It's not on...
Okay, that's funny. Okay, come on now. Come on, that's funny.
Basis of your Bible. It's just a degree. Laugh it up.
That's gross. Okay.
Man, that guy was so messed up that he made Andrew Wilson look good. So I don't care about the feelings of people who...
This is what I mean that Sean's a little weird. Andrew Wilson's another guy like on the right. You'd think they get along, but they do not.
Also, just like illegal Mexicans have taken over a pretty sizable portion of places like California, there are Muslims now taking over cities in America.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by Mexicans are taking over California? Is there just like a lot of them? Are they rebelling against the state of California, the federal government? Or is there literally just a lot of them? Because it sounds like there's just a lot of them. Saying they're taking over is a bit weird, but okay.
There are Muslims now taking over cities in America, to the extent where the politicians...
Taking over, just a lot of them, they're rebelling. What do you mean? Explain, elaborate.
Aren't even speaking English anymore.
Assalamu alaikum. Hamid wal Aksan. Maaga yega wa Yarub Farid. Boca Magala Minneapolis. This election...
They're not speaking English and then proceeds to speak English in that same interview.
Means this...
Or press release, whatever.
A moment for unity, where the entire Somali community can come together.
Quick interjection, I just wanted to point out what's necessarily wrong with having a large Somali community in Michigan. Major cities like New York or Chicago have Chinatown neighborhoods, and that doesn't really cause problems. It lets you experience something different, and last I checked, these neighborhoods aren't rebelling against the city or the state or whatever. I don't know what's necessarily wrong with having a high density of Somalians in some Somali town neighborhood of a city. The same way you have Italian neighborhoods, Puerto Rican neighborhoods, Ukrainian village, like all these things, this is like normal things. Also, every single one of these people's kids speaks perfect English that they learned in school. They watch American movies and they listen to American music.
And say, this is our people, this is our city, We are united behind each other.
Hey, ICE, I found the location of your next raid. It's a place called Minneapolis where the mayor is speaking in illegal alien.
Illegal alien.
According
to... Again, we don't have a national language. That's a WA comment, but whatever.
Post, it looks like they're already on it.
Officers from our Fraud Detection and National Security Directorate have conducted over 1,000 site visits across the Minneapolis-St.
You should take everything from Trump's ICE administration with a grain of salt. Back when ICE raided that Kia factory, it was confidently stated that all these people were illegal immigrants working under the table and not paying taxes. Turns out all these people had their paperwork in order, work visas, everything in order. You should be worried about anything this administration is telling you about.
Our officers encountered blatant marriage fraud, visa overstays, people claiming to work at businesses that can't be found, abuse of the H-1B visa system, and many other discrepancies.
That sounds exactly like what I voted for. Send them all back to Somalia. And by the way, I say that with kindness because look at this place. Somalia is beautiful. Who wouldn't want to be deported here? Now, a lot of people are saying that we have to do things that are like unconstitutional to solve this problem, but I don't think so. So many of these people are only able to do these things because they are doing stuff that is illegal, that all we have to do to solve all of America's major problems is just to enforce the law, just enforce the damn law. Deport all of the illegals.
This idea that all of America's problems will be literally solved with deporting all the illegals just doesn't make any sense. I mean, he posted to Twitter, removing all the illegals, significantly cuts down on blah, 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 blah. This idea is overly simplistic for one. Believe it or not, removing every Mexican doesn't solve all of America's problems.
On immigration and arrest the judges who do catch and release programs for repeat offenders.
I don't know what the judges doing catch and release has to do anything with immigration. Are these guys even immigrants? Are they? This seems like a domestic problem. I don't know what's going on.
Who set people on fire. Take Dearborn, Michigan, for example.
2 intersections have been named after Mr. Omar Siblani. My concern is he's a promoter of Hezbollah and Hamas. Another quote from 2022, "We are the Arabs who are going to lift Palestinians all the way to victory, whether we are in Michigan and whether we are in Jenin." So the reason why I mentioned this is that it sounds like he could be inciting violence in Michigan.
You are a bigot, and you are a racist, and you are an Islamophobe. And although you live here, I want you to know as mayor, you are not welcome here. And the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a...
I mean, that's a pretty wild thing for a mayor to say to someone. I don't know.
...parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city.
The guy's like, hey, there's this Muslim guy who supports a radical terrorist group called Hamas. He's promoting political violence in our city, and you named a street after him. Could you, not name a street after a guy who promotes terrorism? And then the mayor's like, you're racist and I hate you.
I don't know if that's the full story. Could be there's a bunch of other stuff. I think that was out of line for the mayor. I wouldn't trust his summary of events just off the rip.
Really? Is that how a mayor should behave? I don't think I've seen a more perfect example of this meme.
Okay, 30 phases of Muslim immigration. Phase 1, few in number, oppressed Islam, play the victim, claim Islamophobia, more tolerant of others. Phase 2, large minority, indignant Islam, threatening, demanding Sharia law, intolerant of infidels. Phase 3, clear majority, dominate Islam, militant, strict Sharia law, kill, subdue all infidels. For 1400 years, this pattern hasn't changed. Moderates are irrelevant. Huh. Okay. Again, I would counter with most Muslim Americans are pretty chill, in my opinion, but whatever.
Here, then in Dearborn, Michigan. The fact that he thinks he can speak to a member of his constituency like that and not have to worry about getting voted out after supporting a guy who promoted terrorism means that there is something seriously wrong with Dearborn. The people living there need to continue speaking up and possibly be less polite than this guy was.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
More reason to deport them and then put a legislative roadblock on legal immigration from places like Somalia or Middle Eastern countries that people are migrating from to try and soft conquer the first world.
Soft conquer? These people are coming over, they're working, conquering? Is that really what we're going with? You got Rome conquering England, they come over with an army, they take over a bunch of things. These people just move over, they just work and whatever, the kids are Americans, or vote and whatnot. This is conquering now, this is what we're going with, this extreme rhetoric. I think that's dumb.
We don't want to assimilate, we don't want to be like you. You people are so fucking sick, honestly. Assimilate or you're not American. Who are you?
We can solve this problem.
I mean, this girl seems like an unsavory individual. Whatever.
Assimilate or you're not American. Who are you?
You are in a crisis. You went to the Muslim countries and you imported the garbage that the Muslim countries wanted to put in prison or isolate away from society. You went and you imported them. Why?
Governments, people do not import people. People move to the United States, generally speaking, for economic opportunity, to work and pay taxes and be proud Americans. This idea that people are being imported is retarded.
Cheap labor. But these Islamist extremists, they don't want to work. They want free welfare. They want to marry French women, blonde hair, blue eyes. They don't have time to work.
Right. It sounds like a lot of...
Wait, okay. They want to marry French women. They don't want to work. But doesn't that go against the whole these people don't want to integrate argument? I feel like somebody that moves to France and marries a French woman is pretty damn well integrated into France.
Groups that are being imported want to feed off the system, not contribute, and then create their own rules. People like that need to be kicked out.
So look at Poland. They don't complain from Islamic extremism, not a single terrorist attack in Poland. The moment they sense there's a problem, they crack down on it. Polish policy, beautiful.
European immigration and American immigration are always going to be very different. New World and Old World politics is never like one-to-one. People that try to pretend it is are stupid.
The French, no. Come.
Isn't Poland also notorious for having an extremely low crime rate? Weird how when you enforce the law and crack down on bad actors, you don't end up with drastically increasing numbers of sexual assault. And it's time to stop putting up with government powers who are enabling it.
To be in the country undocumented is civil issue. We will not enforce civil law. And so our support is to make sure they're not going to get hurt and our community is not in danger.
She's wrong. It's a federal crime.
Local authorities don't have to enforce federal law. Take marijuana, for example. A lot of states have legalized it, even though it's still federally illegal. You have the federal government, state governments, and local governments. If they want to enforce different rules, they have the right to do so. That's just a fact.
They are allowed to arrest illegals. Fire her. She's selling you out for political power. People like this need to be treated like traitors and not only be stripped of their power, but be criminally punished if that applies.
That's my city.
There's no reason to have compassion or empathy for people who walk all over you, treat you like scum, and would abuse you if they were in power.
I remember a conversation with the head of the school when I was really young. He told me we weren't allowed to speak English in the madrasa, only our language. I asked why, because I was confused. I said, but I speak English at school. And he replied, yes, but only speak English when you have to. It's not our language. Then he said something that stuck with me ever since. He told me, be careful who you get too friendly with. Don't forget who your community is. And then, straight-faced, he told me not to be friends with white kids. I was a little girl, and I remember just feeling confused. I was born and raised in England. My classmates were white. My friends were white. So what were they teaching us? They act like this cult is peaceful, that they're just kind.
I mean, an adult telling a kid to not be friends with white kids, that's despicable, deplorable. I don't think most people say that. I think that's a very small minority of people.
Loving, spiritual people. But that day, they planted the seed of division.
She's right. The extremists that she's talking about are in a cult.
Extremists of any veracity, whether it's Muslim, Christian, or whatever the hell, they're all bad. We all say that. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. Muslim extremists are bad. Christian extremists are bad. Every extremist is bad. That's why they call them extremists.
Are openly saying that if you don't believe what they do, then you should be turned into a tax slave or your life should be ended. Uncivilized people like this should not be allowed in the West. As I was saying before, and I don't know, maybe it's because of America's Christian foundation.
Bear in mind, Latin American countries are also Christian.
And compassion aren't the only good virtues. It is also a good virtue to be belligerent to those who would harm you or others. It is a virtue to be unkind to rapists, murderers, and thieves. It is virtuous to be a little...
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Okay.
...bit mean to protect your friends, your family, and your neighbors. Because if you don't do that, and if you don't do anything to stop bad people, they will continue to prey upon good people. No one respects a coward who is too weak to stop the villains of society, and personally I consider it immoral to cower in fear in the face of people who do evil, instead of standing up to them. These people are not victims. They are abusing your compassion and emotionally bullying you in an attempt to get away with crimes. All cultures aren't created equal, and it is not racist to point out bad acts.
Okay, cultures aren't created equal. Yeah, obviously. All cultures aren't created equal. That's kind of a truism. I do think that it's interesting that a lot of people will talk up the similarities of like American culture with European culture. I would say that Mexican and American culture are more closely related to each other than they are to Europe. I feel like American and Eastern European culture is going to be pretty different. Hell, an American moving to France is probably going to feel more out of place than an American moving to Mexico City, for example. People don't know this, but the largest concentration of Americans living outside of the US is in Mexico. The reverse is obviously also true. When you're talking about Islam Islamic immigration. That's going to be a different cultural thing. But I don't think that this group of people is uniquely unfit for American culture. I subscribe to that one Reagan quote that kicks ass. The quote goes, "You can go to live in France, but you cannot become a Frenchman. You can go to live in Germany or Turkey or Japan, but you cannot become a German, a Turk, or Japanese. But anyone from any corner of the earth can come to live in America and become an American." And we've seen this time and time again. Every new group of immigrants are never going to integrate into American culture until they do. It was the Germans would never integrate, and then the Irish would never integrate, and then the Chinese would never integrate, and then the Japanese would never integrate, and then the Italians would never integrate until they did. They always do. This new group of immigrants is just the same as the other one. In the tri-state area, you have a lot of people with a lot of Italian pride. That doesn't mean that they're disloyal to the United States. That just means that we're a melting pot. All these cultures came together and mix in interesting ways. If you were to bring up crime statistics, immigrants commit less crime than native-born Americans. That's just a fact. And on the subject of jobs, any worker that enters any industry is going to compete with the other people in that industry. Every single surgeon is going to compete with the other surgeons in that same field. But the real question is, in that industry, can we use more surgeons? Do we need more surgeons? Do we have a shortage of surgeons? And for a long time, construction, agriculture, and all these industries have had a huge shortage of workers for a long time. Again, it's always people on the left that want to increase workers' protections, increase minimum wages, and make it so that exploitation of workers can't happen as much. There's also a very simple answer to illegal immigrants living in this country. Give them a path to citizenship. I think we can all agree that we don't want people living in the shadows. People that have been here for a significant amount of time, that pay taxes, that do all this stuff. It makes sense for these people to get some sort of path to citizenship. A lot of people don't even have the chance to prove themselves in taking a test. They just can't take the test because there's no road for them. Let them try at least. I think both Sean and me would agree that we need immigration reform. I think we disagree on how well immigrants integrate into this country. I confidently state that past, present, and future immigrants always integrate into this country very well. It just takes some time. Just like JFK before me, nation of immigrants, past, present, and future, they always integrate really well into this country. Just give them a little bit of time. In any case, that's it. See ya.